Hey guys, it's Istebrak. I'm finally on vacation. I think it was high time I took some rest. I've been focusing a lot more on my illustrations and really riding the momentum into completing more illustrations. I wanted to show you guys my upcoming project. She's been floating around in my head a lot recently. And this one is a little more special because I've been like tiptoeing around this idea for such a long time. It feels a little bit more ambitious than my other pieces because it's asymmetrical, it's a little bit more perspective prone. So compared to my two recent pieces, that kind of happened spontaneously. This one is something that I've been really planning a lot, and because you plan it, you kind of build up the anxiety of finally pulling the trigger and trying it. But I'm ready. I've been really thinking about this piece. To see the sketch finished really gives me some hope. But before we get into the process of my sketch, I have some announcements. First one is, yes, I'm on vacation for 3 weeks. The first day back from vacation will be the 13th, and that day I will host the Critique Hour for the Character Environment Integration Challenges, including the Creepy Creature Challenge. I know it's not going to be on Halloween, but we still have to do it. Second, there is another upcoming Portrait Studio sale, yay, on Monday the 26th of November to the 30th. So the promo code SAVE15 will be active then. So it's capital SAVE 15%. It's just SAVE 15. Save 15. And it'll be active that week. So if you don't have Portrait Studio, if the current price is too high, if you want to buy a second copy, if you want to gift it for the holiday season, this isn't the holiday sale. The holiday sale will be much bigger. It'll be almost 30%. And that will be on December. But this one will be in November for those who are interested. I try to keep it really, really easy to buy towards the end of the year. Just because everyone wants their copy for the new year. Everyone wants to just start fresh with New Year resolutions. So I hope that will be easy for you guys to grab. To buy Portrait Studio, all you have to do is go to istebrak.com, and when the code is active, you'll go to the store, you'll check out and use Save 15 between the 26th of November to the 30th, and you'll get 15% off. Anyway, onward to the sketch. So this one new witch is added to the series of witches I've always drawn. I'm sure you guys have seen my blue witch. She's sort of alting. So I really wanted to kind of that possessed but helpless backward bend of an alt where you're kind of just possessed by your inner power or your, whatever it is. So she's sort of in an alt phase, but at the same time, she has to look like she's in control and confident. So I wanted to show you how I use Portrait Studio to help me draft this key pose. So I'm posing it in Portrait Studio, and essentially what Portrait Studio is, it's a reference generation engine. But for anyone who's new to it, Portrait Studio is a project Other and I worked on. And we put together a bunch of models that help with referencing, both educational and for referencing purposes. So one of the most amazing features in Portrait Studio is the posable male and female mannequins. So I'm using the female mannequin here to help me draft this key pose that I'm talking about. I wasn't exactly sure what to do with the pose, only that the cape was billowing from behind her, kind of like just really pulling her up. And that revealing her silhouette was also part of that feeling of weightless kinetic energy that I really wanted to capture. And so as I posed it in the model in Portrait Studio, I really started to see it appear before me in ways I just could not visualize. So that's something I really wanted to talk about today, visualization. It is so unbelievably important. Ever since I started getting back into illustrations, I realized that visualizing your illustration completed is the momentum that you ride to completion. It's that thing that you see. You don't forget it. You don't unsee it. And it's what helps you complete the illustration. That's kind of the aim that you go for. No illustration is possible without first trying to visualize it as vividly as possible in your mind, in your imagination, just as clearly as possible before any kind of drafting is attempted. You're just going to be experimenting really, really stiff, stale images, not encouraged by that picture that you see in your mind. I knew for sure that she'll have the sun beaming behind her, bringing out the oranges in her blonde hair and the floating, but I just couldn't see it all tied together. Like, try as I may, and this is why that anxiety built up for this scene. I just couldn't see it all tied together. I couldn't connect the cape to the dress or the feet back up to the pose of the head and how the head was tilting. I knew what to do with each individual part when I got to it, but because of my struggle with the last two illustrations, I just didn't want to leave it to choice during illustration. I wanted to make these choices early on and stick to them. So to see the model in front of me pose so clearly in Portrait Studio before I even started gave me hope for completing the piece. I saw it wasn't as abstract as I imagined it, and two, it finally gave me a space to experiment with the cape. So if I had tried this without reference, I would have gotten a very, very close image to what I was seeing in my mind, but not the exact, like, bullseye image of what I saw in my mind. So the current pose you're seeing right now, that's the pose I imagined. And that's just phenomenal to me because I don't, think I can even do that kind of thing. I don't ever imagine myself to have the same skill or ability to capture the kind of things my mind can imagine. I think that's what every artist wants to do, is capture what's going on in their mind. And for me to see her floating there in front of me the way I wanted, it's just really, that's what I mean by hope. It gives you the hope that you can finish this piece. Because if this glorified image that's been floating around in your mind is not pulled off the way you imagine it, it can be a real disappointment. It can be a real, just throws a wrench in your development. It can decrease your motivation. It can completely destroy all desire to finish the painting. Maybe you started some of it and it was a nice, cool study and you're just going to let it go. But something inside is always going to say, wow, you couldn't finish that. So that's what I'm afraid of. And that's obviously connected to the fear of failure. But me being so unbelievably careful, way more careful than I am with any illustration, sometimes I just go in. I see the image and I just go in and I just start rendering it. And then one day I finished the Morgana picture. And one day I finished, not the Morgana picture, the Organa picture. Her name is Organa, but she's based off Morgana. And then one day I finished, not one day, but like one big session. I completed one big aspect of the painting. Or almost all the painting for the Gorgon I just painted. So that I can do. But for something that's been floating around in my head, I'm so careful with it. It's a fear of failure. And for me to, after applying so much care and love into developing the pose, to see it complete really, really gave me the encouragement to finish this illustration. There is still that buildup. There is still that self-doubt. Do I have enough skill? Do I feel like I can pull this off? But seeing my struggle, even watching my process right now and seeing the struggle and seeing how it came out, yeah, the process is going to be painful and the process is going to be ugly and the sketch is hideous. I mean, look at the line dependency. But I didn't want to worry about that. I didn't want to I didn't want to count my lines right now. I just wanted to loosen up and let the pose come through with the help of the pose, the model that I made. So that was all that I cared about. And again, just seeing it in front of me really gave me a lot of hope. So it gave me the chance to experiment with the cape, which is the vital component of that key pose, that leaning back. And the weightlessness in the feet I captured. And I like that. I liked how the feet are not my strong point. So I really liked being able to see how the feet were going to be there, kind of just suspended and surrendered into the power. I hope to finish this piece soon on stream. I've taken a break from streaming for this week, only until this week. I just wanted to just completely let my mind do other things. I've been cleaning a lot. I've been doing some crafts. It's more of a staycation, really. I'm not really going anywhere. There's no destination. It's just really trying to change the way I think for now so that when I get back to teaching, I get back stronger. So I'll be back to tackle this illustration very soon next week. I hope to start streaming this weekend. Maybe Monday. If you guys want exclusive access to the PSD files of this painting or any of the recent illustrations, the Grey Witch or the Gorgon, go to patreon.com/Istebrak. As soon as November 1st, you'll have all the PSDs, the process videos. I might not offer the Gorgon this month. It might be just for December. But I might just give it as well for this month. I don't know. Just to make it up for not having any illustrations in October. Thank you all for your support. I really miss public class. It made me feel so happy every time the class started and everyone was there and everyone was writing stuff back to me. But I started noticing that I started streaming only once a week, and that was the sign of fatigue. I got to the point where all I wanted to do was draw for myself, and I didn't want to teach. And I don't like that. I don't like running a class and not being 100% dedicated to the students' education. I want to be there and offer every explanation they need, no matter how many times I've repeated it that day already. And I was starting to feel a bit fatigued, so I knew that was when to stop, and come back stronger for my students, private and public, it doesn't matter. But I hope it works. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if any of this is going to work. I really don't know what's working, but this is all, we do things in hopes that they work, but we don't really know if they will. We just hope that, all this planning is going to work for an illustration. It usually does. That I can safely say will work. But I don't know if taking a break and changing the way I think might work. I was dealing with a lot. I was struggling a lot, and I don't want it to get too personal, but it got to the point where I just didn't want to do anything anymore. And I knew I had to start either working harder or working less hard. I didn't know which one. I'm starting to work harder at the gym and cleaning and anything physical that keeps you so concentrated on the pain of cleaning and working out, so you're not really overthinking about everything else that's bothered you. But working less with my mind and letting my mind relax. I think it's never a waste of time to go for a run or go for a jog or something like that, or a walk. A walk is amazing. I love walks. But yeah, I'll stop boring you guys. Thank you all for your support, and I'll be back stronger. I hope, I promise, I'll be back stronger. Bye, guys.